Welcome back to DM-Nastics, the gym for dungeon masters to work out their minds. I'm one of your hosts, DM Neil, aka Jote Moniac.
And I'm one of your other hosts, DM Derek, aka How Not to DM. And I'm excited to be back in the gym, Neil. It's been a while, but new year, new me, right? Everyone hits the gym as their New Year's resolution, so it's time.
Just like anyone who goes to the gym often, the best way to start your day is coming up with your own personal potion. You've bought random things that are in powder form, and you're going to put them inside of a shaker, and you're going to have your own special potion. So today, why not talk about potions? Homebrew potions, which I think technically what I do. I did it this morning, so I think I'm primed. I'm ready. I did not use Prime. I did use Prime. That's very funny. I did use Prime.
As the base. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I hate water. I hate using water. But today we're going to be talking about an article called Most Powerful Homebrew Potion Ideas in D&D.
Which is quite the claim.
Truly wild.
The most powerful.
And this is brought to us by Jack Filsinger from thegamer.com. And of course, as always, there will be a link in the show notes where you can go check it out. And I feel like we should just jump right in, because what is potion number 10?
All right, Jack, we're going to see what you're made of. Potion number 10 is a potion of melding. Jack has given us rarities and effects here as well. So potion rarity, rare, key effect, stealth, and damage resistance benefits. This potion mimics some of the effects of stone melding, which is a feature found in certain Dungeons and Dragons spells and other species-based features. When you consume this potion for the next hour, you can physically meld your form with the material of a solid surface, such as a wall or other structure. Your skin and body assume the material of the surface, whether it be stone, granite, or any other kind of substance. Once melded, you can still hear normally, but you cannot see. Interesting. However, you are considered hidden when in this form and have resistance to all damage when melded. So, in the key effect, he said stealth and damage resistance benefits. I could see this being helpful if you're in some crazy dungeon/lair encounter and you could just jump into the wall and the dragon blasts its fill in the blank breath weapon and you only take half the damage or whatever because you're in the wall. You are part of the wall. Sure, the sneak is interesting as well, being able to just meld in with any solid surface means you're sneaking through the keep trying to steal the artifact or whatever, and you can just hide immediately and be able to, be imperceptible. That I feel like that it could be very useful. I'm sure you got to give it some kind of cap. Oh yeah, the next hour. So I can definitely see situations where this would be very useful.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are certain characters that it's more useful and possibly broken.
Sure,
because the other thing I would think about is what is your mechanism for use? Because I have it for an hour, which is also a wild length of time. But then is it a bonus action to meld?
Right, it doesn't
action
say.
To meld. And so these are some of the things you got to think through, because once it's at the table, you have to navigate those conversations. And this is the key piece of advice with all things that are homebrew. And I know we've said it many, many times. Just be very upfront with your players that, hey, this is something I came up with, and we're testing this together, and it may be that I need to turn the dial up or down. And let's be open and honest about the fact that it could be overpowered and I need to turn it down, or it could be notably underpowered and I need to turn it up. And that's okay, because you don't know. That's how testing works. And not everything is going to be foolproof if you're bringing it to the table for the first time. And this one kind of falls into that category. The resistance is cool. I mean, because
it is
just
cool.
A wall, I guess.
He didn't include all of the actual text of the meld into stone spell, which is this is meant to mimic. The duration of meld into stone spell is 8 hours, and the casting time is only 1 action. And the spell says, using your movement, you step into the stone at a point you can touch. So The spells mechanics it's just movement based, so you're not having to use like an action or a bonus action every turn. You could technically step in and out of the wall and just move those 2 squares like 3 times in a turn if you wanted to, I guess. In, out, in, out, in, out, or the reverse. Yeah, but that means like as far as sneaking goes, you would be able to jump into the stone wall well before someone comes around the corner or whatever, so long as you can hear them and they're coming, and you would be able to hide pretty well. So that's interesting. He also didn't include the stuff about if there is any kind of destruction or change to the shape of the object you're within, then you get spit out and dealt 66 bludgeoning damage, which is pretty tough. So there could be some interesting downsides if you decide to use the spell's text as is.
Yeah, because the other kicker is the second you pop out, it's over.
Right. So it's not like I can just go in and out whenever I want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose if you did it that way, it would make it much more situational and much more rare, or like I don't know, you would have to choose the exact moment at which to do it unless you're just going to let them kind of jump in and out wherever they want for an hour. Could be cool.
That brings us to number 9, which I actually do really, really like this one because of a base level concept behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much I actually like the potion. I just like what it does. Because this is a potion of minor telepathy. Up to 3 different creatures may take a sip from this potion, which grants a minor telepathic connection for them. So basically, you can then, at that point, you have an ongoing telepathic connection, and you can use the message cantrip up to 240 feet without anything going on. So you're just communicating back and forth because you all shared this drink. That's interesting to me to do I've always wondered about the like half potion, half duration, half kind of thing. So like as a way to try and convince my players to maybe use their potions more, because like it's more potion than it was if I let you use half and then half again. But that's a fun way to be, you like literally just like share the potion.
Yeah, and I like that it's double the range of message. It says that you use the same things that can block it, though. So, like 3 feet of wood, thin sheet of lead, 1 inch of metal, 1 foot of stone. So, but obviously, message can follow a straight. It doesn't have to follow a straight line and can travel around corners and stuff. So long as you're within the same room-ish, and it's just like doors and stuff between you, so long as the doors aren't 3 feet thick, or made of metal, you should be okay. Yeah, and if there's any like windows or anything too, like it would still technically work, which is a funny way to kind of like mechanically. I've never really thought about like a window or a crack being what the message can wiggle through. Anyway, I like it. I know tons of people who give their players magical items that allow them to do something like this, right? You got the Rocky Talkies, which is the classic one. Like everyone has a rock and they can just use the rock to talk to anybody else who also has a rock in the group or whatever. But I like it being more of a finite resource they have to plan to use. Like, okay, sure, you can do something like that. You have to buy a potion though. And, 1 potion will only be good enough for all of you to do it for 1 hour. Then you got to go get another one or figure out how to brew one yourself or something. Then it makes it more like, okay, when will we use this? We're going to use this in specific instances that we're going to find it most useful.
Yeah. And giving access to making potions is kind of where this is also going to be. Like this
Sure.
whole conversation has to be required is like, look, they have to be able to do it. And you need to figure out an easier way than whatever's going to be written down. Because for the most part, it's fairly prohibitive in the sense that like, where do you get the stuff? Are you actually capable of doing it? How long does it take to do it? Can you only do it over here? So, whereas most video games are like, oh, cool. You had the stuff. You made the potion. I'm proud of you.
Right.
I mean, yeah, and you may need the skill, and there may be roles, and there may be benefits to those roles, and that's probably where I would lean, but for the most part, like, it needs to be pretty straightforward, or they're not going to do it.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so next up, we have Potion 8, which is a potion of etherealness, which is funny because Neil and I both talked about this before we started recording. I actually have used a potion of etherealness in a game before. I gave it to my players, and I don't remember why or how, because, again, these are homebrew potions. I think that it was probably some random generator I used that created it, and I hadn't thought about what it could do, and so I just said, yeah, just it's the same as the spell. Anyway, so it's not an official spell, but it does exactly that. They say, again, rarity rare, key effect, gain the benefits of the blink spell, which is interesting. Any creature who consumes this potion immediately gains the benefits of the blink spell for the next minute, granting them temporary access to the ethereal plane. However, when you consume this potion, the effect lasts for the full minute and cannot be halted midway through. So you can't just drop it, which is interesting. I don't know when that would come up situationally, but it is an interesting note. When it comes to crafting homebrew potions like this, mimicking spells is a great way to start. Talk to your DM about what kinds of ingredients you might need to homebrew a potion that mimics a spell. This can also be a great way for non-spellcasters to get access to certain spells, which is interesting. Potions are not like spell scrolls, right? To use a spell scroll, technically, according to the rules, you also have to have access to that spell anyway, even if it's not on your spell list or, a spell that you've prepared. I know a lot of people don't play that way, but that's kind of what the rules state. And so potions being something that doesn't have to follow that rule means that they're consumables that are a lot more flexible. My players used this exact potion to access a kind of like a guard house and get up into the bedroom of one of the leaders of these guards and access some information inside his desk and find some documents. They found a book. They were able to uncover a bunch of really interesting secrets, which was fun. I allowed them to kind of blink in and out of the ethereal plane at will during the duration of the spell to make it more useful. But again, situationally, or whatever you think is going to be best, will be just fine.
All right, for this next one, I quickly realized, based on this list, I'm going to combine 3 because they all do the same thing. And so it doesn't make sense not to talk about them all together. So number 7 is referred to as the Potion of Navigation. And number 4 is referred to as the Potion of Insight. And number 3 is referred to as the Potion of Sharpened Senses. Basically, in
Those
reverse
are kind
order,
of synonymous. Yeah.
Advantage on perception for an hour. Advantage on insight for an hour. Or, if you'd like, advantage on survival checks for an hour.
So powerful.
Ta-da!
It was kind of funny to me that they were all based on the same skill.
It makes me think of the spell set that's like the Cat's Grace, like just pick an animal, you remember as a kid where you'd have 6 things over here and 6 things over here. And I need you to draw a line between the ones that connect. So you have 6 animals over here and 6 D&D attributes and just Cat's Grace, the wisdom of an owl. And those are your spells. And you just have more of one of your stats. Go look at your skills and just make a potion for every skill.
Yeah. I don't know if I would put navigation higher up than any of the spells we have talked about thus far being more powerful, which is funny. I don't, he didn't specifically state they were in order, did he?
No, and they're all at the same rarity, uncommon.
Right.
So like you could just.
So yeah, navigation, again, it really depends on the kind of game you're playing too. Like if you're playing a very heavy hex crawl explorer type game, then maybe this would be useful. But oftentimes your players are just going to kind of like stumble around until they find it, or like ask people for information until they get the information they need. If they're really hunting something they don't know where it is, there's a lot of other ways to find an item or a person or a place.
Yeah, I mean, you could also literally, common? You could make a common potion called the Potion of Guidance.
Uh-huh.
And then it does a guidance spell, which is like dangerously close to what we just talked about. Or, not that I necessarily would call it this, but like the basic concept is I've made the Potion of Skill Advantage.
Right.
And it's all fine because part of this I know comes, and I've done it certainly, is that when you as the DM, GM, you have a party, because like I don't necessarily like restricting much choice at the like character creation, unless like I have a fairly specific narrative reason which I typically don't, but I might. And if I do, then like, hey, for X reason, Dragonborn aren't available to you. so what? Okay, cool. I have a narrative reason and I've implemented that, and that's what I've said. Everything else is on the table. But if everyone chooses a fighter or everyone chooses not a cleric, then like I need to kind of always think about the idea that, and that's actually, now that I think about it, like that's my current party, is like doesn't necessarily have like a specific healing class, but everyone can kind of help facilitate that. But I always have to keep that in mind as well. So like, let's say nobody chose a caster class. Well, potions can be like a fairly solid alternative to the idea that you don't have a caster, and like someone is just really good at making potions. And then it's kind of supplementing the idea of having spells through potions. And yeah, we don't need 3 entries. We covered them.
I agree wholeheartedly. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right that it was silly that they created 3 different spells that do essentially the same thing. Just fill in the blank. Okay. Number 6 is not one of those, so we'll cover this. Number 6, Potion of Psychic Abjuration. Oh, this one is very rare, and it blocks divination magic, which is interesting. Similar to the effects of various magical circlets found in the 2024 DMG, the Potion of Psychic Abjuration can help players block out divination magic that might otherwise reveal their location, thoughts, and more. This potion is extremely powerful and rare, meaning that it's going to prove far more expensive to craft than most others on this list. However, when you consume this potion, you gain the following benefits for 8 hours. First, you cannot be scryed on except for the benefits of a wish spell. Additionally, you are immune to the effects of a detect thoughts spell or any other magical effect that allows players to read your mind. However, in turn, you also cannot cast scry or spells like detect thoughts. So it's a 2-way blockage. I like this a lot. Oftentimes, as you are nearing the end game and at higher levels, your villains are going to have access to very powerful spells where they can scry and where they can, determine what people are doing. And, they're going to, if they don't have access, then they're going to have access to people who know those kinds of spells, right? Like it turns into spy D&D at that point. And your players also do the same thing, right? They're going to spy on people. They're going to, they're going to try to spy on the villains and figure out their plans. This is really cool because it's a great way to like, how can we create a plan to defeat the bad guy without the bad guy knowing what our plan is? Well, we've got to prevent him from being able to see or hear us while we talk about it. This is how you do it, right? Like, the really powerful enchantress says, I have this potion that I can give you that is going to solve this problem for you. Here it is. It's, a lot of gold pieces or whatever. But yeah, I like this because I can definitely see how it would be useful and my players would clamor to get their hands on something like this.
Yeah, it makes me think of some concepts through the end of Stranger Things. Like, I'm not that guy. I'm not going to ruin that for you. I don't know how you watch Netflix or how much you binge things. It's a dangerous game to play when you don't watch it right when it comes out. But if you haven't seen it, good on you. But like that's a concept that is introduced in the show of like avoiding detection. Because I also think about like what is the like if you're not awake, you can't be tracked. That's an easy concept, but I'm like, that's not good for D&D. That's a terrible way to do this in D&D.
Right, like what are you going to do, all into the same dream,
Yeah. I'm just gone. I'm just out. And yeah, you just can't find me now. Haha, fools. No,
that's interesting though. This may or may not be useful for the episode, but it'd be kind of cool. It's like cryo sleep. Like, all right, Mr. Wagon Driver, give us all the mask that like puts us to sleep and cart us to another place. And like, they have no idea where we're going and then wake us up once we're inside this room and you don't know where the room is. I don't know. It's like, there's some goofy stuff you could do with that. If you could find a way to permanently sleep them for the duration of travel to a different place. Anyway, it could get fun.
Yeah. But that brings us to number 5, the Potion of Transmutation, which I think is a very interesting and long-winded way to say the Potion of Resistance to something. It's not. It's
Damage
really not.
transmutation.
It is. That's a very interesting concept for me, though.
Yeah.
Rare feels I'll give it a maybe. I don't know if I don't know if very rare is required. When you consume this potion for 1 minute, you gain the ability to transmute different damage into another type of damage of your choosing. For example, if a Dragonborn has resistance to lightning damage and you are hit with fire with this potion, you can choose to make that fire into lightning, thus potentially having the impact of a spell. However, if the damage you transmute exceeds 30 points, you must roll a DC 10 Constitution saving throw or risk the effects of the potion failing temporarily.
I mean, there's a few other ways to gain damage resistances other than your race or species. You know, Dragonborns, Tieflings, Dwarves. Does anybody else out of the box have damage resistance?
Yeah. Well, and like Shatterkai are resistant to necrotic and
sure,
like
and there's
that.
going to be like, you know, like water elves and anyway, so there's quite a few, but not all of them, right? A lot of them don't have resistances to damages, but if you could find a way to get resistance to any kind of damage, you know, any kind of spell someone casts on you, and then you have this potion, that could be kind of cool. A cool way to avoid big damage. And you could make a bigger, beefier version of this potion that's, now it's 50 points of damage. If you get dealt 50 points of damage, then you have to make a harder con save. I don't know. So you could kind of scale it up or down as needed if you wanted to.
Yeah, and like what I don't like about this conversation is that like how much into the weeds I'm going to get of like, what do you mean 30? Do you mean 30 total? Did you mean 30 at one time? Do you mean I can do it for anything? Because you didn't say magical damage. These are the conversations that like you might end up having to have. And so this is always a thing to keep in mind. Like
this is very loose. Yeah.
Yeah. If you've written something loose, there may be like one-off conversations that happen. And again, like my biggest piece of advice always when that happens at the table, depending on where you're at, if it's your home table and like you're all cool with it and you're down to get in the muck and the mire of like, let's figure this out and then move forward, and your table is cool with that, that's fine. Whatever. Take the time, spend it, because it may be enjoyable for everyone to enjoy the mechanics and spend the time and be like, okay, no, that is broken. This isn't broken. And let's talk it through. You may not have that group. Your group may not enjoy that at all. And my piece of advice is set a standard and be willing to address it after the fact. But just to keep the play going, hey, this is the way we're going to do it right now. And if we think it needs to change, we totally have that conversation. But so that we don't interrupt this session and just like get down into, again, the muck and the mire, like let's just move forward and then we'll decide something later, more concrete, and like really decide. Because my thing is like, okay, well then I just change it to slashing all the time.
Right.
I mean, obviously I don't think that's like the, rules is written, rules is intended of this current potion, but like, I don't know, it's an argument. Like, as you said, any kind of damage. That's what I read. Oh, okay. You didn't mean it. And so like the quick change for there is magical damage or magical damage type. If it's fire, I can go lightning. If it's fire, I could go acid. If I'm a Shatterkai, it's fire and I go necrotic. Okay. Yeah. That's fine. So
there's a lot of different ways. I feel like that the wording is pretty vague. So you'd have to define that. But that's okay. All right, potions 4 and 3, like we talked about already. Insight advantage, perception advantage. It's funny, he even says it differently. Key effect, insight advantage, and then key effect advantage on perception. Not even consistent wording across them, which is kind of funny. Anyway, potion number 2, potion of wiliness. Potion rarity rare. Key effect, avoid opportunity attacks. Pretty self-explanatory. There are a lot of effects I can think of where you affect a creature and the creature no longer can take attacks of opportunity, or, it can't use its reactions because of some effect you've put upon it, right? Whether it be spell or otherwise. But I've never seen the inverse of that, which is just, I can't take any attacks of opportunity. I'm trying to think. I guess there's like some rogue stuff later on, or there are some ways to do this, but it's never like kind of on its own. This next potion is for martial classes that don't have access to monk or rogue abilities. Yeah, that allow you to circumvent opportunity attacks. Those are the ones I was thinking of. When you consume this potion for 1 minute, you can expend your bonus action to move out of melee range from an enemy combatant without having to run the risk of an opportunity attack. So you have to burn your bonus action to not get opportunity attacks.
That's just letting you do disengage like a rogue?
Yeah. The disengage is just from your current thing, right? Like if you are toe-to-toe with someone and you disengage, that person can't attack you with an opportunity attack. But if you were to run in and out of someone else's range as you are retreating, they still could, right? Whereas this is saying, well, you can expend your bonus action to move out of melee range from an enemy combatant. So it's the same thing. Yeah, you're right.
It's not cunning action. It's a little bit of cunning action. Because typically at second level, your quick thinking and agility allow you to move and act quickly. You can take a bonus action on each of your turns in combat. This action can be used only to take dash, disengage, or hide. And so you're just choosing to take disengage as part of you're using your bonus action. Heck no. Nah. Look, if you're going to take all the effort, the time and the effort to do this, and you're going to tell me this is rare? Heck no. I'm going to let you do it. I'm going to let you get weird with it and just be like running around like a fool. Because the other thing is it also gives 10, the way this is written is it also gives 10 additional feet of movement on top of it.
Right. Yeah. And like you don't even have access to the other two parts, which are the dodge or the hide, or the dodge or the hide, which is interesting. That's like a reason why so many people take a 2-level dip into Rogue when they're multi-classing, is to have access to that stuff, you know?
Yeah. And so, and this is the muck, this is the mire, but we're willing to spend some time in it because we're not at the table. We're not in the middle of a session. So my two options, the way I look at it, and I have an opinion. So I'm not going to say my opinion yet. I'm going to see what yours is. But the two things I see about this to make it feel better for me are either one, you can do it with one enemy and I'm not charging you a bonus action to do it, or I'm charging you the bonus action and it's free reign. Like you could run through 30 people and I'm not going to do an opportunity attack because you used so much of your action economy to obtain this. Mm-hmm. And you don't get a bonus action anymore because you chose to do this instead. That I don't necessarily enjoy limiting you on how many you're going through, or you're able to do it with one because you've used a rare potion. This costs you something. Like that's the other thing that always need to be keeping in mind. We're not giving these out for free. You either obtained them through money or you obtained them through effort. Like these didn't come to you for nothing, or they were part of your reward when you defeated the last monster and went through the treasure. Like something got you these through effort. So I don't really enjoy the idea of spending a bonus action and basically getting a part of cunning action.
Yeah, the second paragraph, you mentioned this. It says it gives you an additional 10 feet of speed. However, when the effects wear off, your speed is temporarily reduced to 0 for 1 round. And then after that round, you can move as normal. So for 1 minute, you can do that. I mean, that's 10 rounds. Like you're never going to get to that limit anyway, so that doesn't really matter. To me, I feel like it would be more interesting to give them a potion of dodge and then just allow them to dodge the initial opportunity attack if they're moving out of someone's space and then be able to dodge as they're running through the rest of whoever, and then it's just disadvantage each time. I mean, if this was like something that they have, I don't know, I can't think of a reason why they'd have a potion I didn't give them. But if they have this potion, I like what you said, where you just like say, yeah, you're using your bonus action every turn to do this. Sure, you can avoid every opportunity attack. Why not?
Or they're not, and that's the other thing. The second you drink this, you're not using it every turn. Like I highly, highly doubt that. I'm very suspect that no matter who drinks this, they're not getting 10 rounds out of it.
Yeah, the way it's worded, you can expend your bonus action to move out of melee range from an enemy combatant without having to risk opportunity attack. So the way it's written, the whole combat, you drink it, and then the rest of that minute, each turn, you can use your bonus action to disengage. and also have this additional movement. Yeah, I think you're right. It's not rare, and it feels pretty limiting. I guess the idea is a rogue would be using their bonus action to do this every turn anyway, if they were doing it. I mean, most rogues are not disengaging every turn, though, are they? They're usually hiding and then popping up and shooting people. I guess it depends on your flavor of rogue, but I don't hate it. It's like a very low-level class feature that's pretty flavorful. But I almost would just say it's the potion of give them the rogue abilities, and they could do any of the three, you know? Like, let them dodge or disengage or hide, you know, and they still have to use their bonus action each turn, but they could do one of those three, and then it kind of makes it more interesting. Anyway, a lot of deliberation for a spell, so I guess at least we got talking about it.
I mean, at this one, this last one, number one, I mean, probably fairly definitively goes towards the title. Yeah, you made a potion of time stop. So, yeah, you drank a 9th level spell.
Potion of wish.
Yeah, that allows you to... I mean, so I always... At this point, I'm always trying to look up what does it look like in 2024's rule sets.
Sure.
Apparently, you get a little +1 because they don't want you to feel sad about getting only one extra round. So no time passes for other creatures. Wait. You briefly stop the flow of time for everyone but yourself. Okay, yeah. No time passes for them. You roll 1d4 + 1, and which you can use your actions as normal. That's how many turns you get. Turns.
Yep.
Full turns. Granted, you start stabbing people, it's over. But you could have up to 5 turns just for you that you do whatever you want to set up in those 5 turns. I mean, we're talking bonus, all the things, reaction, bonus, action, and movement, full turns. I mean, you can do like delayed fireballs and stuff like that. That's the classic is you cast time stop.
Yep.
You
setting a bunch of bombs up, basically.
Yeah, basically. Yep.
Yeah. It's funny. The way it's worded, if you use one of your actions to attack or affect another creature, they get the opportunity to react and take their turn before you may resolve additional actions. So it's like you are moving crazy fast. The moment you interact with someone by harming them, they're like pulled into the super speed with you for like 6 seconds. They can do something about it. Mm-hmm. And then they get shoved back into the time stop and you get to keep moving. So...
That said, that is, I mean, I guess I'll go back a step. I don't know if that's like a thing from 2014, which we're about to find out. That's not a thing in 2024. No, spell ends if one of your actions you use during this period or any effects that you create during this period affects a creature other than you or an object being worn or carried by someone other than you. In addition, the spell ends if you move 1,000 feet from where you cast it. So long story short, 2014 or 2024, the second you do something, it's over. This is busted to react and take their turn before you may resolve additional actions.
To attack or affect another creature. What does affect mean? Because, could you affect your friends? Is that what you're thinking? Like, you slap your friend and then they can attack somebody else, and you slap your other friend and they can attack somebody else.
This is not at all what I was thinking. I had
Extra
not thought
actions.
this through. That is very funny. That's insanely broken.
Maybe.
That's so very... it's very broken once I get to do that. Then I'm just running around slapping the crap out of everybody because then I just afforded everyone up to 5 additional turns.
Right,
especially
additional turns. Yeah. So the one time I've ever seen time stop in play, I was DMing a level 20 one shot for my friend and his group of players. He wanted to play with them for a change, like as a one shot. We did I've talked about this on the show before, but we did a back like 100 years ago in your world. This is how the flying cities crashed. Like, this is what happened on one of these flying cities that made it crash into the ground and decimated this, powerful empire. So they were all playing really powerful people on this floating city, and he got to play with them, which was fun. But one of the characters was a Chronergy wizard who took the time stop spell, but I failed to read the spell. I assumed he knew what it did, and I just took what he said as gospel, and he immediately like used it twice and got at least 7 turns worth of like extra damage he was dealing. Because I didn't read the spell that says once you attack somebody, it's over. I just like let him run amok and like, deal a bunch of damage. And then only after the fact did I ever actually read the spell. And well, I mean, I'm sure I read it in the past, but it had just never come up, right? So I read it and I was like, wait a sec. I just like gave him whatever he wanted, and he didn't say, you know what? I'm not going to take advantage of this guy. The spell actually doesn't do all of that. No, he just took advantage of me for sure, which is fine.
Okay, now I need to know. Oh, yeah, you can't. I mean, I guess at 20th level, you'll have 1, 8, and 1, 9. So we can't. But my thought was like, I'm wishing for more wishes. I was like, can I time stop in the middle of my time stop? I mean, no. Oh, I could if I had this potion.
Tell me, could an artificer create a thing that is a 9th level spell that you could use?
Typically not. My thought would be if you had this potion and you could cast time stop. At the end of your time stop, one or the other, you do the other to obtain the additional time stop.
I'm trying to remember. I let him do it for some reason. My friend might remember why he had 2 different time stops.
So one of the things that like this does benefit is like you do need to be in fairly specific scenarios where you're not engaging with the other creatures or the objects that they're wearing. But there's certainly objects that you could engage with that are not that. So like if it's you need to turn these dials or do these things in a certain order in a certain amount of time, it's done because you just did them because you could. Or you're a lot farther along the way because you just froze time and just moved stuff around. So, I mean, there's ways. The idea that I would just get to go back to my time stop after like giving someone their turn, that's wild. That's not going to happen. Like,
yeah. I will have to reach out to my buddy and figure out what the heck happened there. But, you live and you learn. It was fine. It was a level 21 shot. They were all supposed to kind of like die or something anyway. So they all got transported to the moon and weren't around anymore. So,
okay.
Yeah, this is interesting. The uses, there's a ton of uses, like watch any... Is it Clock Stoppers? Was that like the Disney Channel original movie, or was it like a Nickelodeon movie? You ever seen that? Do you know what I'm talking about? Or something like that? Clock
2002.
Stoppers. 2002? Was it not like a Disney Channel? It was a Paramount Pictures movie? I thought it was like some Nickelodeon made for TV.
This definitely got the vibe. That's for sure.
Anyway, that's what I think of whenever I think of time stop. There's just so many shenanigans you could pull off. It's fun.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the recent Honor Among Thieves, like it's prominently displayed in a very interesting way, which is cool to see it, on screen. Like, what does the spell, what does someone's concept of this spell look like?
Yeah. I just pulled up this Reddit post, but they're saying it was more like a mass hold person than like what it kind of is mechanically in the actual game. But, cinematically, that's kind of what you expect, right? Is like he does something, everyone freezes, and he's able to get away, right? That's like what you would do as a villain to get out. Anyway, the movie wasn't perfect mechanically according to the 5e rules anyway, but that's fine. It wasn't meant to be exactly. It was just meant to be the vibes, and it definitely was.
Yeah, it's almost like things have to change to translate to an audience unaware of the rules and to be shown on screen. Yeah, wild. Yeah. Who'd have thunk it?
Who'd have thought? Although there were some really good bits in the movie. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but the speak with dead was such a good joke.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I went and watched it with my group, right? And we were all dying in the theater when that scene happened. We were just laughing so hard.
Yeah, I managed to score, and this is just me literally, like, this is not special for the podcast in any way, but I managed to score, like, really early, release ones because like I had like I have AMC theaters near me, so like I had an account, and it was like, do you want to go early? And it like the early release was like way closer to my own birthday, and I was like, I would like to go. And then I took my whole group too, so then we ended up seeing it. I think several weeks or so early because it was like a couple showings that were just only through AMC theaters, only like 2 showings, only on one night, and it was like a couple days before my birthday. So I was like, yeah, we're doing that.
That's pretty cool. Well, if we've learned anything today, Neil, it's that you can make anything a potion, whether it be an ability or a spell or, whatever else you can dream up mechanically. And maybe just, try to think of a few of the things that your players might do with it before you unleash it on them.
Mm-hmm. The thing that we never tapped into, but I'll give it as like the one that like I enjoy doing sometimes is giving partial access or, limited time access to feats.
Yes, that's another great shout out. Like potions of feats would be really fun. Sure.
But if you enjoyed this episode and you want to give us a rating or review, head over to Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. As always, mine is wearing overalls with a giant net trying to catch pods for me. And of course, if you want to email us telling us about the homebrew potions you've been using, you can always go to dungeonmastersblock@gmail.com. And of course, you can head over to social media where we're at DMS_block. That's at DMsBlock. And if you want to find me, I am at Jote Moniac.
And I am at HN, the number 2DM, or How Not to DM.
And as always, a huge thank you to the bards over at Bombarded for our intro and outro music. And you can find whatever they're still doing over at bombardedcast.com. But rather than let these mental gains go to waste, let's head to taking your supplements.
Taking your supplements!
I am coming into today as taking your supplements, having never taken this supplement. So proceed at your own risk. Yeah, these statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. So, this is with a grain of salt, but I found this thing today because I believe the team that builds this is local to me. It is called WorldSmith. If you go to worldsmith.io, you can check it out. It does look like this is a paid subscription to a tool, but the claims are pretty sweet that it's got a bunch of generators that it can set up for you. But I think what the real draw is here is that you can homebrew just about anything, and it kind of uses AI to help you homebrew, but you are the one who ultimately decides what gets included, what doesn't, and you kind of are prompting it to kind of fill in the blanks where you need. So I think this is a lot better and more interesting than just like telling ChatGPT or Gemini to do your prep for you.
Okay. We're gonna play a fun little game. We're gonna play a fun little semantics game that Neil likes to play.
Sure.
AI will forever be a dumb term for me. Only because I worked in tech. And you listeners, you've heard it before, but I worked in tech for a really long time. We have been using artificial intelligence for decades. The thing that is new are large language models.
Yes.
And what has happened is that they have just set those loose on the internet, and they have begged, borrowed, and stealed every piece of information that is available freely or not. And it's wild what they create because there's no rhyme, no reason, no rules. A lot of people have been able to then take what that software is and does and make bespoke large language models by putting in things that they actually have and they actually own. I have taken all of 10 seconds to figure out that one of the things that you can do is like you can put in your own like homebrew material into it to help you make things on your own. I mean, again, grain of salt, caution,
sure,
everything. Sure. But one of the things to always keep in mind is that you can look into what a person has done with technology to figure out what they have actually done with technology. Again, the largest language models have run roughshod and just stole and just make stuff with no attribution, no rhyme, no reason, and have been very open about their confirmation bias. It has a tendency to tell you what you want to hear because it wants you to stay.
Uh-huh.
take all of that with all of the grain of salt. And now that said, these are the base. Have you ever gone to donjon.com before? It's
all
like
the time.
That's a language model that's probably an MLM or maybe an SLM because it's a small to medium language model.
Small language model.
But it's the same concept. Like it's doing the same thing. It's not. I don't know that it is.
I know. It's just really funny that you created SLM. Anyway.
But like that's the same concept is Donjon is doing the same thing. It's taking in the same way that every time I've ever mentioned the ever-changing book of names. The ever-changing book of names is a language. It's more of a language model than almost anything I've talked about so far, but it just has the ability to take inputs and then force feed them out through an algorithm where it breaks down the basic components of a word and then reassembles them to make new words that are similar to the words you gave it originally.
Yep. FantasyNameGenerators.com is another classic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is something I have owned for a very long time, to the point where like I think I got it in like 2009 was the last time it was like available to anybody. So I've had that and been using it for my games to create names for this whole time. So like, again, I really want to emphasize this technology has been out for a long, long time. It's just what's been done with it recently has been at a scale that is not cool because it is theft. Like there's just wide, rampant, raging theft on many things.
Yes.
That doesn't, but I also then want to have the whole conversation I'm trying to have with myself apparently, and Eric, of course, but is the idea that like with research, you can tell what a person has done and whether or not it's okay. So
100%. Yeah. So we're not endorsing this site by any means, but they do call out on their homepage that you will never find any AI art on their site until they can find a platform that aligns with their high standards, is what they say. So they are not trying to replace artists or creators in that vein. This is simply just supposed to help you prep for your game specifically. So
yeah, and this is the same style of generators and type of generators that I have seen since I have been playing D&D. And the internet has been around. It's wild that those two don't always line up. In my earliest days, the internet was not what it is. But like, this is the same stuff. When I just clicked on an encounter, goblin ambush, set the scene, the narrow forest path winds through the dense undergrowth.
Sure.
Key features, dense cover, narrow path, elevated positions, goblins. Yeah, I like it. It's cool.
I just thought it looked cool. I am actually hoping to meet up with the gentleman who made this in a couple of weeks. They're having a local meetup, and I think they're trying to kind of showcase this as like the thing that's going to run the games for all the folks who are showing up to this meetup. So I will return and report, whether it be here or on a main episode. I'll give you guys an update.
Yeah, definitely something to check out. Yep, because I'll also say it this way too. It's a technology we cannot avoid. It is simply a technology that we need to get right.
Yes, 100%. They're here to stay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it'd be very hard to abolish them, but you're 100% right that like we got to have the conversations about what's ethical and what's practical and what is feasible.
Also, like, yeah, I'm with anybody that was also like, man, this is not the thing I thought this was going to take. I was under the impression that it was going to do a bunch of menial jobs that we all didn't want to do. And the funniest conversation about AI I have ever had, AI and robotics AI specifically, that I have ever had was with my buddy who works at McDonald's. And he's like, you should absolutely replace me with a robot. I suck at making fries. And if you would like your fries to be correct every time, you know who would do that? A robot. He's like, I phone it in and I don't like my job. So sometimes I don't do a good job, but a robot would probably do the fries correct every single time. I also do know that there is a unmanned McDonald's somewhere that they're field testing where it is all robots.
I would not be surprised because just about every single one I've been in the past 6 months has had no people at the front counter anymore. And it's all just kiosks where you order. To the point where it's impossible to get a hold of a person in the back. This is me yelling at a cloud, but we were on a road trip and it took us a half hour to get our food because there was not a manager at the store. They were just all worker bees doing their specific job. And whenever you would corner one, they would say, I don't know what's going on. I am doing X task. I cannot help you with Y order. It was fascinating, and I got to see humanity at its worst as a bunch of hungry road trippers crumbled around me. So, anyway.
This is secondary to them outsourcing everybody at the drive-thru as well. I mean, that's the thing.
All the AI. Oh, dude.
Mm-hmm. No. Okay, hold on. Dear listener, if you're still here, I hope you're enjoying what's about to happen. So have you seen when people screw with the AI? Because
yes,
you're going to do whatever I tell you.
Yeah,
you
55 burgers, 55 fries. Yeah.
I saw one where they were like, I would like 10,000 cups of water. And they were like, okay.
And it's
I'm
like,
on it.
Hey, how good? And then like a real person's voice comes on and they're like, hey, what do you want? Yeah.
How dare you? How dare you break my robot?
10,000 cups of water. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How many decimal places or how many hundreds and thousands places do they account for? Who knows? What a weird time we live in. Anyway, if I get a hold of these guys, it'd be kind of interesting to have them on and we could have a discussion about AI and tabletops, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I can have quite the conversation about it. So I'm down.
Could be very interesting.
But with that, we're going to turn out the lights and head out of the gym. But before we go, as always, we want to implore you, the listeners, to join the forums, the Discord, social media, and anywhere else you can find us and take part in these challenges, exercises, and other amazing conversations being had.
To do that, head over to bit.ly/DMBanter and try some DM-Nastics so your players don't ask, bro, do you even lift?